Hey everybody, welcome to episode 2 of our Detrola PeeWee Model 197 radio restoration being done by our friend Brendan. So let's jump right in because this is some good stuff here. So let's start looking at the electrical restoration of the radio first. So let's look at the schematic. Here it is up on the screen. And what you could see, it's a simple radio. There's really not much to it. There's 4 tubes. There's a 6K7, a 6J7, a 25L6 output tube, and a 25Z6 rectifier tube. And as you can see, it's a TRF set and very simple in design. The first place that we want to start the restoration is going to be the power cord. Take a look at this cord. That's the curtain burner cord. Why is it a curtain burner cord? Well, if you recall, they used to put a resistor in the cord to bring the current down before it got to the radio. And what would happen is people would leave it coiled up on the floor and it would start fires. It just got too hot. So Brendan wants to keep the original cord on this thing, but he has to find another way of dropping the voltage for the filaments and the pilot light. If you take a look at this cord really closely, you'll see that it's in pretty bad shape. However, he did ohm out the cord and prove that the 2 resistors were still good. The outside covering of the cord is in pretty good shape as well, and the connectors inside are pretty supple. Opening up the plug, we could see 3 connectors attached to the plug. See that white stuff there? That's covering the resistance wire that makes up the dropping resistor to the filaments. It's made out of asbestos. So, if you're working on one of these, I would advise that you wear a mask at all times while doing this. We're all used to masks these days, no big deal, right? So the first thing that Brendan did was he soaked the outside covering with glue so that it wouldn't unravel. Pretty smart, right? We have to do this at the end when it's already unraveled and expose the inside connectors. The rest of the covering appears to be in usable condition on his cord. Shortening up the resistance wire by a few inches had very little effect on the overall resistance. So once it was shortened, the wires could be easily installed in a new style plug, which is exactly what he did. With the new line cord and plug completed, we turn our attention to the chassis. Here's the chassis right here, and it appears to be in pretty good condition. So the first thing that Brendan wants to do is test out the tubes. It's a great place to start because then we'll know where else we have to complete repairs. Also, taking the tubes in and out of the sockets exercises the pins in the socket. It gives us a much better chance of having a good connection. You also should spray the sockets and tubes while they're removed, usually with deoxit, but it's often not necessary. In this case, all the tubes tested really good. So now it's time to turn our attention under the chassis. Take a look at there. Not much going on. As you can see, it appears that someone partially recapped this radio many years ago. And it appears they left all the old style dog bone resistors in place. So the first thing we need to do is test the resistors. And amazingly, they all tested within tolerance. That led Brendan to believe that this must be a fairly low hour set, as that type of resistor was very prone to changing value with use. So now, Brendan moved on to testing the 2 RF coils, the output transformer and the speaker field coil. Again, Brendan was able to report that the 2 coils and the field coil all checked okay. So while looking around, he discovered that someone had bent one of the fins of the tuning condenser. You could see it here. They were touching and the condenser had a short. It's pretty common. So he had to straighten them out, and it turned out to be a big task, mostly because the blades on the condenser were spaced very close together. Brendan spent 2 days with his most powerful jeweler's loop and a long, strong light, adjusting the spacing to get the condenser back to where it would tune from end to end without shorting. And I'm sure you all know how to do that. You connect the meter to the rotor and the stator, and you turn the dial and make sure there's no shorts. Finally, he was able to get it working properly. So he started recapping the chassis. He replaced all the caps and installed a new safety cap. You can see that in the pictures. The one original mica cap that was in the unit also tested okay. So in part 3, we're going to look at testing the radio, cleaning the cabinet, and reassembling. So you can see this is a pretty simple set, but the techniques and the troubleshooting steps are all relatively the same, regardless if it's a large set or a small set like this. So we'll end this video here. In part 3, we're going to start to see this thing sing. Hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments, and we'll get back to you. Thanks, everybody. Take care.